My 600-Pound Life has documented some of the most extreme weight loss struggles ever put on camera.
I think it'll be worth it for both of us to get this help. And we just have to face the music now.
But every once in a while, a transformation comes along that leaves you speechless. From a 22-year-old who was told she'd lost too much weight, to two brothers who walked in carrying nearly 1,300 pounds between them. These are the most dramatic before and after transformations ever in the show's history. And we're starting with a man who went from barely leaving his bedroom to completing a 5K hike. Justin McSwain. Justin was only 27 years old and weighed close to 690 pounds. Severe anxiety kept him locked inside his home in Rock Hill, South Carolina.
I've gotten so big now, doing just about everything is difficult.
When he finally entered Dr. Now's program in 2020, Dr. Now told him plainly that he wouldn't make it to 30. And Justin took that warning seriously. In just 2 months, he lost over 90 pounds. That earned him approval for bariatric surgery, but the real work was just beginning. He started therapy and confronted the patterns that kept him trapped for years.
That's what you've always done, is you just up and leave.
When all I can ever do is say that I'm sorry for not being the mother that you deserve.
I just kind of feel like I don't know if words are enough.
By 2021, Justin looked like a completely different person. He had lost close to 300 pounds in just 1 year.
That's almost loss of 200 pounds in a year.
Justin didn't stop there. He lost more than 450 pounds in total. And somewhere in the middle of rebuilding his body, he found someone to share his new life with. He met Jordan, and the two got married. To show just how far he'd come, Justin kept a pair of pants from his heaviest days. And when he put them on, the image spoke volumes. Justin's transformation didn't just happen on the scale. It happened in every corner of his life. Diana Bunch. Diana Bunch was 55 years old and weighed 601 pounds. Her food addiction started at just 11 years old, and the reason why is heartbreaking. Diana had been abused by 2 older boys, and from that moment, food became the way she coped. Decade after decade, the weight piled on until she could barely move. Her legs were the worst of it, covered in sores and ulcers from lymphedema.
But my legs are what hurt the worst. I have lymphedema in my legs.
Getting her to Houston was a challenge in itself, but once she arrived and met Dr. Now, she was determined to change. Dr. Now placed her on a strict 900-calorie high-protein diet, and she actually took it seriously. It wasn't a clean road. She was initially denied surgery after only losing 44 pounds in 3 months.
So you're not approved for surgery at the moment.
Okay.
That rejection stung, but instead of quitting, it seemed to wake her up. She buckled down, lost more than 100 pounds, and Dr. Now finally gave her the approval she'd been working toward. From there, the weight kept falling off. By the end of her journey on the show, Diana had lost over 400 pounds. People who watched her episode and then saw her afterward said that she looked 20 years younger. The woman in that photo barely resembles the one we saw at the beginning of her episode. Speaking of which, you could help dramatically transform our channel by subscribing. Thanks so much. Now, live large and carry on. Melissa Morris. Melissa Morris was the very first patient ever featured on My 600-Pound Life. And from the moment viewers met her, they were rooting for her. She was in Livingston, Texas, weighed over 650 pounds, and relied on her husband for nearly everything. Because life at that size could turn a simple grocery run into a moment of humiliation.
Hollywood.
Yeah.
When you get bigger, you just get a bigger damn wagon.
A devastating weigh-in was the moment she stopped pretending things weren't getting worse. She found Dr. Now that same year, and the work began toward her surgery.
I didn't sleep last night. I'm scared. I'm excited.
It wasn't just physical. She had to confront the internal patterns that surgery alone couldn't touch. And she did, consistently over the years. After the show, Melissa's life kept moving. She went on to have 3 children. And here's a fun fact. Melissa eventually began working in a support capacity connected to Dr. Now's practice. She became a long-standing advocate for others walking the same road she once walked.
My name is Melissa, and I lost 500 pounds. But with my last pregnancy, I gained 100. So I'm having long-term issues with food because he did surgery down here and not up here.
She still advocates for people and continues to share updates about her life. Melissa was the first patient in the show's history and one of the greatest transformations of My 600-Pound Life. Nikki Webster. Nikki Webster opened season 4 of My 600-Pound Life. And from the very first scene, the weight of her situation was impossible to ignore.
My body makes me feel trapped. And I rarely look at myself naked in the mirror. My body shouldn't look like this.
When she met Dr. Now, she weighed in at nearly 650 pounds. Her heart was under strain, her lungs were struggling, and the clock was already ticking.
The chances are you going to make it to 40, I'm not that good.
She took that seriously, stuck to the program, and was approved for surgery. After her gastric bypass, the progress was steady. She regained mobility, started walking longer distances, and even began caring for her brother Chris, who lives with cerebral palsy. But that journey had one more brutal chapter left. After losing a significant amount of weight, Nikki underwent skin removal surgery. And that recovery nearly broke her.
I feel very dizzy.
But she made it through. And by 2023, Nikki had lost more than 450 pounds. She married Marcus, her longtime partner, and built a whole new life that looks nothing like where she started. If you want the full story of Nikki's journey, we have an entire video dedicated to her. You can find the link in the description below. Brittany Fulfer. Brittany Fulfer was 32 years old, weighed over 600 pounds, and was in pain every single moment of every single day.
I don't remember a time waking up that I didn't hurt.
She was living in Oregon with her husband Bill, who was by her side for all of it. But when she finally sat across from Dr. Now, the reality hit hard.
You're eating yourself to death, and you're helping her to do it.
But she kept showing up and doing the work. And slowly, the wins started adding up. By the time Brittany qualified for surgery, her mentality and motivation had completely shifted. She lost over 230 pounds in 1 year alone. She later underwent multiple skin removal surgeries, and by the following year, she'd lost another 90 pounds. But what fans kept coming back to was her relationship with Bill. Their dynamic became one of the most celebrated storylines in the show's history.
I've always loved spending time with Bill, and now that we're able to be more of a typical couple, our marriage is just getting stronger and stronger.
Brittany and Bill are still together, still living the everyday life they once thought was out of their reach. Brittany lost over 320 pounds since the start of her journey, and that smile tells you everything. Amber Ratchty. Amber grew up in Troutdale, Oregon, and from childhood, food was the one thing that made her feel safe. But by the time viewers met her, that safety had become a prison.
My relationship with food isn't healthy. I spend a lot of time of the day stressing, what am I going to eat? When do I get it? Oh, is it ready already?
Yeah, it was ready a while ago.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's what
I can't stand for more than 30 minutes.
What made her episode so hard to watch wasn't just the weight. It was the fact that she was only 23 and had already accepted that life had passed her by. Amber weighed more than 650 pounds when she made the decision to move to Houston and commit fully to Dr. Now's program.
How y'all doing? Good. I'm Dr. Nazardan. Amber, so you are almost 660 pounds.
Amber remained committed to the program and gradually lost weight. Therapy also helped her start separating her identity from the body that had defined her for so long. After her gastric bypass in 2015, the weight came off steadily. In 1 year, she'd lost 280 pounds.
He's taken a lot of time out of his life to help me get mine back. I know that he's got a life to lead, and he has put that aside for quite a while for me.
Over the years that followed, Amber lost more than 400 pounds, becoming one of the most recognized transformations in the show's history. Today, she has over 400,000 Instagram followers and still shares glimpses of her transformed life. Lonnie Hambrick. Before Lonnie Hambrick ever stepped on Dr. Now's scale, his story had already taken turns that most people couldn't imagine. It starts at age 6, and it explains everything that came after.
When I was 8, because after a few years, we found out that my tumor was benign and the seizures kind of decreased. They just kind of tapered off, and then I didn't have them anymore. But my appetite came back with a fury because all I wanted to do then was eat.
Healing left a gap, and food filled it. But Lonnie didn't arrive at Dr. Now's office alone. He reached out to his brother John, and the two Hambrick brothers made the trip to Houston together.
It all started at 6 when I started having seizures and got diagnosed with a brain tumor. That's a scary thing for anyone, but as a 6-year-old, I was terrified. I definitely got special attention from my mother because I was sick, and her paying so much attention to me really put a wedge between mine and John's relationship.
When they finally stepped on Dr. Now's scale, the numbers were staggering. Lonnie weighed 612 pounds. John weighed 686. But after their first appointment with Dr. Now, you could tell the brothers were determined to make a change.
Look how far you are from your chair.
I wasn't paying attention.
But that's actually amazing. You never walked this far.
While both brothers made progress, Lonnie's transformation was in a category of its own. He was disciplined, consistent, and committed in a way that stood out even on a show full of remarkable stories. He earned his surgery approval, navigated the COVID lockdown without losing momentum, and showed up on the other side looking like a completely different person.
It's been a bit of a crazy 10 months or so, needless to say. But I just stayed focused and steadily lost this whole time.
Like, I haven't cheated. I stay on Dr. Now's program super strict.
By the time filming ended, Lonnie had lost over 400 pounds. And based on his recent photos, he is thriving. Lonnie's story is one of the most dramatic transformations this show has ever produced. Christina Phillips. At only 22 years old, Christina was one of the youngest patients in my 600-pound life history. But already, a few steps from the couch to the kitchen was enough to leave her gasping for air. And her family only made things worse by bringing her fast food, until her body had almost forgotten how to function on its own.
See, I just sit around and eat all day.
When she met Dr. Now, she weighed 639 pounds. He gave her a specific weight loss goal before he would approve her surgery, but instead, she gained 17 pounds. Dr. Now didn't hold back. He placed her in the hospital on a strict 1,000-calorie diet, but the family undermined every bit of it.
It seems that separate her from a neighbor has not worked. Obviously, they are bringing her food, and literally they are killing her.
Her family was sneaking fast food into her hospital room while she was on a strict diet. Eventually, Christina took the program seriously, and the weight started coming off. After her gastric bypass, the changes came faster. She started driving again and running her own errands. And by the end of 1 year, she had lost more than 250 pounds.
Got you on prednisone to develop some muscle mass, and I want you to take this protein shake every day.
Christina didn't stop there. She kept losing weight, until Dr. Now said something you almost never hear him say.
It doesn't make me gain weight,
doesn't it? Yes, because you need to gain muscle weight. You're almost becoming anorexic from fear of gaining weight.
That was a problem most patients on this show never get to have. Christina had lost so much weight that Dr. Now needed her to gain weight before he could safely move forward. Today, Christina is widely recognized as one of the show's most successful long-term transformations. All told, she lost more than 500 pounds and is now raising a family and sharing occasional updates on her Insta. And that's a wrap on some of the most dramatic transformations the show has ever produced. Whose do you think was the most incredible? And did we miss anyone who deserves a spot? Let us know in the comments. And here's an entire playlist of transformation stories for you to binge on next.